Okay. Welcome everyone to Beyond the Veil. It says that there's 50 of you up here right now. That's awesome. I'm hoping some of you guys are back from last night. First of all, let me make sure my mic is working. Last night, in about, I don't know, I battled it for about an hour and a half, 2 hours last night. So from 8 to like 10 o'clock last night. I was up battling, I guess, the internet or I guess YouTube or a mixture of my computer and all kinds of things trying to present this information to you. Ultimately, I got two videos shut down. I don't know if it was something on my end or I don't know if it was something on their end. Okay. So, um, what I'm gonna do right now is just make sure that you guys are at least hearing this right now. Okay. If you guys can let me know. Let me check the chat box real quick. All good on my end, says Ryan. Let's see, Chad, you're up here. Yeah, you can hear. Donut, welcome. Matt, hello, everyone. Cool. I'm hoping this will work. Okay, it says everything is good on my end. All right, and really, last night, that's what was weird, is everything was good on my end, and then all of a sudden, on my end, everything went black on the screen. So I don't ever know what to take of that. But anyway, we're going to go on while it's working. Okay. Um, Ooh, we have a lot to talk about, and I think I'm going to do it like this, okay? I know some of you guys are returning from last night. I am going to touch on a lot of what we talked about last night just because of the choppiness of the video and whatever was going on, okay? So sit back. If you've heard a lot of this introduction part, okay, go get you some coffee or a biscuit. I don't know what you do in the mornings, okay? Go do that and just kind of listen in the background too. Okay, he's where I was, all right? I'm not going to go through everything. If you're curious about everything, listen to the other two videos because it ain't no way I'm going to present all of that again. Okay. Um, okay. So here we go. Whew. So during the past couple of weeks, okay, there have been some strange events going on in the world. Okay. With that being said, I'm going to name some of those. Okay. The big one that everyone on YouTube and their mother was talking about at first was, oh, the Pope is going to open some holy doors. And then they put portals in the title. So it sent all these conspiracy theorists on a binge in which they were like, okay, it's portals, which they say in the Bible. Whatever is bound in the heavens is bound on earth. Whatever is loosed in the heavens is loosed on earth. That's why when we're told to pray, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Okay? That's where that comes from. Hence why when it talks about Satan being cast out of the heavens, you also have a dragon cast onto the earth. Okay? And you see that stuff like all the time. When you see the stars falling from the heavens and stuff like that to the earth, you also see it followed by a darkness in the heavens as well, and a darkness on the earth. Okay, obvious things. Well, we have been having signs in the heavens, along with signs in the clouds and signs on the earth, all kind of mixed together here, tied in with complete alignment with the word and everything else we've been talking about over the past couple of months and year. Okay, so I'll say this. The first thing I want to discuss is I want to make sure that you new people that are just coming in, okay, that have never been on my page, you go back and listen to the previous 4 or 5 live streams, okay, to help put all this into context, okay? The Pope stuff was very, very important, those doors opening, okay? And they weren't all opened at the same time. It was a spread out event. There's still doors left to be open. And even after the last door that they told you is going to be open, I also pointed out another door that's going to be opened, okay? And if you're curious about that, watch the Pope videos I've done. That's not about this, okay? But that stuff happened, right? Then the next thing I presented was something else that a lot of people are picking up on, and that's this coming solar alignment that's taking place on January 25th, okay, which is my wife's birthday. We don't celebrate birthdays, so and she'll tell you that too. I'm just telling you, and here's why. Most of the time, she sees it as, man, it's always been snowing on my birthday or this and this. She's always had bad birthdays, so we stopped. And mine too. My family and stuff would only really talk to me on my birthday or Christmas, and it kind of hurt. So I just like, man, I'll just cut those two things out because it's just how I was in that moment. Okay. However, this coming year, there's a solar alignment taking place on January 25th. And no, this isn't like the ones that happen like once a year or every couple of years or every whatever. This is one that ties into every 240 to 260 year is when this one has gone on. And as conspiracy theorists on this page, you guys notice the significance of the 1500s all the way up to 1776 when Lucifer, the light bearer on Babylon the Great, broke that great chain around her foot and was set loose completely when Baal, the first ever Baal, George Washington, was Osiris risen for the first time. And if you're curious about that, watch my Osiris risen video. I was about to combine videos and rituals. Go watch those videos, okay, about those said rituals. A lot of stuff took place. Well, this coming year, there's one of those events that happened to also happen in the 1400s, right at the 1450 end of the Dark Ages, start of the New World and the Renaissance and the New World Order, really is what it was, the reset. Okay. Um, all of that stuff is important to put in perspective. So, January 25th, we have a solar alignment. Okay, from the 10th to the 20th, everybody's preparing for this big transition of power from one president to another. Everybody's thinking that Kamala's not going to do it, and then all of a sudden, everybody's going to rise up against another, and then you have a civil unrest and civil war. Possibly, that's exactly what it says in Revelation 20. He's going to stir up all the nations against one another and surround the camp of saints because there's tares and wheats growing together in these days all over the place. Okay. Um, and if you're one of those that believe the camp of saints is gathered at the North Pole, and you don't see that we're the camp of saints that's scattered amongst the tares, here's what you're saying. We're not saints in the end days. We're the people scattered outside of the kingdom, and we're not welcome in, and we're destined for literally the lake of fire and damnation if that's what you believe. Okay, so wake up from that. I already told you guys the North Pole is Hyperborea. Okay, that is where Satan, okay, and his Rudolph, his light bearer that he sent, because Lucifer is Hellel, and then it's followed by Ben, which means son of, and then Shahar, which means morning star. So it's Lucifer, son of the morning star, not Lucifer, the son of the bright morning star. This is Lucifer, the son of the morning star. This is Lucifer, son of Satan. So it's Satan and Rudolph up there at the North Pole. Okay. And this is where you have the little elves, okay, the little minions. All right. This is where you have all those, an entrance into Hyperborea. This is why we banned lead during the Holocaust and all those other times because they needed lead to coat themselves and everything else. Because when you enter into the substance of the earth, what you get there is radiation. This was all discovered by a lady named Mary, if you want to be specific about the radiation poison, which is nuts when you think about the Mary thing we've talked about. But Hyperborea itself, all that stuff was discovered and all this mess for a reason. The VRIL Society, okay, is a very, very important topic that came up at that time with Hydra. YouTube, this is for entertainment purposes only. I'm doing no different than what Marvel does, okay? But anyway, this is when all that came into the picture, along with this big solar alignment and a lot of known catastrophes that I've brought up over many, many live streams, okay? So the 25th of this coming January, that's happening, all right? Along with the president coming in that I told you guys is Apollyon himself. All right. The one that will come in and make the people hate and turn and hate the woman dressed in purple with the pearls. Okay. Kamala is said woman dressed in pearls, dressed in purple with the pearls. Okay. And indeed, Apollyon is going to come up and make the people turn on the woman because the woman is going to make the people turn on him. So he's going to lift himself up. And during the same time, there's going to be a catastrophe that takes place in which he's going to really make himself a hero. You need to know what Apollyon is known for. Apollyon is known for bringing the disease while also bringing the cure. Okay, just like Donald Trump when he was in office. You need to know what happened. Well, he calls himself the father of the vaccine. Okay, it's a beautiful vaccine, is what he says. Well, he's the father of the vaccine, but he was also, at the same time, he's the bringer of the disease, but now he's the bringer of the cure. Okay, so he does both. This is why Apollyon is known as the one with the keys to the bottomless pit, because he releases stuff from the bottoms of the ocean that come up and infest man for 5 months, and they torment them with, they were like locusts, bugs, insects, creatures, all kinds of creatures. He opens up, and those things start to, and first thing it says that happens is not fire comes out of the abyss. It says a great smoke, a great fog, a great cloud will come out. okay? And it'll black out the sun, dark out the sun, okay? And it says when that happens, locusts will come out and torment the people with tails like scorpions, okay? If you're trying to compare them to a bug around, you're not going to, because these are creatures that have been in radiation hollow earth for a long time. They're going to come up and torment man. And Apollyon's going to be like, oh no, there's creatures everywhere. Everyone, listen to the government. Look, I'll save the day because Biden's dying over here. And what he does is he gets everybody to gather into the mountains, into all of this hollow earth stuff that they've got developed, and he's going to put us in there, okay? And FEMA camps are going to come up to round the people up that don't want to enter into the Babylonian cities and camps where they hide in the heart of the earth, okay? And they're not going to want to do that. I'm hoping that's going to be me and you, okay? And they're going to come after them, okay? And when FEMA comes in, they're going to have the cities all built around, Trump calls them these freedom cities. They're all going to be built around subterranean stations in which he can take people and put them into the bunkers underground, just as the word says will happen when the wrath. What is wrath in the Bible of God? Well, the wrath of God is defined in Job, and it's literally Leviathan was created for the wrath of God. She is the queen of the south. She is Queen Sheba, who rose up against Solomon because all of his wisdom. Well, she is the queen of the south who rises up in judgment. She's Leviathan, the queen of the south, who rises up against Behemoth in the end, okay? The final destruction is about to take place. All right, and that's real. So all of that's going to be happening at some point. But here's the thing: the first thing that happens is great smoke comes out and things come out of the abyss onto and invades man and all this stuff. Okay. Well, you also need to know that in Job it tells you what Leviathan and the sea monsters. Specifically, it says sea monsters several times in your Bible. Look it up yourself. Don't just fall for the little grace topics on Sunday morning where the blind guides lead the blind into half truths so you don't know any of this stuff. Look up yourself. There's so many talking about sea monsters, leviathans, and behemoths. Okay, all of those. Okay. Well, that stuff is very, very real. And it says that the Leviathans were created to play with the ships at sea, to make war with the ships at sea. Okay. Just like right now, China has deployed the biggest ever fleet of warships, period. History, long time. Okay. Ever. Probably since like the Viking Age, but that's happened right now. And also, there is more action in Taiwan and the Philippines, the South China Sea, and now the Arctic Circle than in a long, long time, such as the Holocaust, when all that stuff was happening in the background. Okay. All this is happening. And it's not like they're teaming up against each other, they're teaming up against something else. Remember, just as the presidents said in multiple times, in order for there to be a world peace and a one world order, there has to be a common one world enemy. Okay. As they were warning you. Now here we are. There is going to be a common enemy. They're turning you against aliens that are coming out of the sea, supposedly is what they call them. Okay, and crafts. Just as I was telling you, my Atlantis Rising video months and months and months ago, I told you guys that Atlantean tech and Atlantean creatures are going to start coming out of the sea, and then months later we have that whole Miami incident and stuff like that. Okay, I've been trying to tell you all that stuff was going to happen, and it literally happened exactly what I said. All right. Well, after the eclipse, it's important to know the Bible says the first thing that happens, okay, is there are four great titans that are released into the great Euphrates. Everybody's focused on that little water source over there, and I've been trying to tell you we're not in that same world that we were in 1,500 years ago. Okay, you need to know these creatures were released, all four of them after the eclipse, one after another, just as we told everybody here, and it happened literally down to the T. And they're waiting to play with the ships at the war at sea, and they are. Okay, if that interests you, go watch the previous live where I told you guys just over the last 4 months, there have been so many huge cargo vessels and ships, big and little, where people are going missing. The whole ship has been snapped in half. A whole cargo ship made of steel was snapped clean in half, okay, on video. Like it's sinking and everything. It was horrible. All this stuff is happening while everybody's focusing on the Pope. There's a lot of bad stuff happening in our oceans right now. NASA is on the rise, okay? Stuff like that, launching their missiles constantly over, up, and down into these oceans. Okay, it's happening over and over and over again. They want to have an excuse of why they're launching to space when really they're going up, over, and down right into our oceans: Pacific Ocean, Bermuda Triangle, Atlantic Ocean, and the Indian Ocean. It's not just America; it's all these nations together. I've done many lives previously about how every single day When NASA's not doing it, China's doing it, all these other places are doing it, launching stuff in this ocean that are entitled payloads. Well, there's things called payloads that are missiles, okay? Unknown payloads on many of them, and they have success or unsuccess on many of them as well, okay? Well, I've been telling you guys about all that, and I told you guys the main one that was released just as it was in Wrath of Titans and all of that stuff is the Kraken, just as it was in many other movies too, Apocalypto, etc., with the apocalypse releasing these things. And then what happens is there's a war stirred up in the world, and then the Kraken rises up and all the beasts rise up. Okay, Clash of Titans and Wrath of Titans. Watch it, and then watch Atlantic Rim and Pacific Rim, and then watch Power Rangers, and then watch Transformers, and then watch Lord of the Rings. You guys are like, why is he naming all these movies? Because they're exact same story over and over and over and over and over again. The most accurate thing of what's coming is Atlantic Rim and Pacific Rim. All of that stuff has already started to happen. For example, Atlantic Rim, what took place in the ocean was this. Okay, in the movie, the first scene of Atlantic Rim was there was an oil rig that went missing in the Gulf into the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, where the whole thing was just taken under in its crew by a big beast. Okay, well, it turns out 1 year before they made the movie, an oil rig went missing exactly where it took place in the movie. Okay, and in the movie, there's a build up to where a couple years later, up in the 2020s, okay, beasts started coming up in New York and California and these other things. And they started having to develop SpaceX and stuff so they could fight with these robotic titans, as you see on the Roku channel. Beasts coming out of the sea, the robots fighting up there with the big controller on it on the Roku channel. It's telling you what's coming. The big Kraken with the ship out in the seas. Okay, all of it. The Black Sun I've been telling you about. The Chariot of Ra, which is that big black thing people keep seeing blocking out stuff up there. Well, you need to know what that is. That's the Black Sun. Okay, Freemasons try to tell you about it in some ways. Okay, that's real. That is the Death Star in Star Wars. Okay, with the concave lens that fries and petrifies everything that comes in its path when it aligns with the sun. That stuff's real. Okay, well, check this out. Speaking of real, we're going to get into tonight because if any of that stuff interested you, go back and watch videos on all that stuff. Okay, it's been talked about so much, countless times in depth. It's crazy, weird stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is present my screen. I have no idea how long this live stream is today. I have a whole day here at this campground left, so I'll be sitting here talking for a minute, just so you know. Watch this. All right, screen share. Just making sure, can you guys still hear me okay? Is everything still good on you guys' end? I'm going to check the chat box while I'm pulling this up for you. See some wows, see some other stuff. I do see some people complaining about some commercials and stuff like that. I can't help it. It is what it is. YouTube inserts those, and it just is what it is. Okay, so watch this. There's this movie. Okay, everybody's looking for titles like The Fog. Well, there is a 1980s book, novel, and movie called The Fog. Okay, very interesting stuff there. Read into it if you want to. That's not what this is about. There's also another series called The Fog. Okay, like literally called The Fog. Watch it. Cool. A lot of people are talking about that one. But they're not talking about this one because of all the other crazy stuff that happens in it. All right. Well, check this out. Here's this movie called The Mist that me and my wife, I've watched it. I remember watching it in 2009 with my mom, sitting on the couch right at graduation. Okay. A long time ago. I remember watching that movie, and even then I remember it was pretty terrifying to think about, like if this was real, especially the way the ending is. It's really messed up and twisted. Okay, the dude has to kill. Well, I don't want to tell you all that stuff because YouTube might censor it. But I watched it again with my wife a couple years ago. But here I am now. I watched it again. And I saw so much stuff that was exactly like what we talked about. All right. So in this movie, I'm going to tell you what took place. I had videos I tried to present previously, then they did not work. Okay. So I'm just going to have to tell you what they are. All right. In this movie, okay, there's this man and his son. They go into a grocery store. And while they're in this grocery store, it's pretty much like a town gathering. They got the mayor there, they got the judge, they got everybody gathered. They're all the gossip people, like my Dollar General in my hometown. But anyway, everybody's there. The man's in there and stuff. Well, here's what happened. The previous day, I mean, the day before that, him and his son are out there in the ocean. They noticed this fog kind of come out of this. It was technically a mountain. It come out of this mountain onto the land and stuff. And they were like, "Man, this is weird. It's a great weird fog starting in the middle of the day, even where they were at." But they went back home. They didn't pay it no mind. But when they went out to go get to the grocery store, okay, he left his wife and stuff at home. He goes with his son, and all of a sudden, when everybody's in the grocery store, there's a panic. Okay, the power, goes out. There's this huge power outage that goes out, and then all of a sudden they look outside, and this man is running for his life away from this fog. This fog is chasing after him, okay? But he's like, "Hey, there's a creature in the fog. There's a beast in the fog." And then he comes in, he's like, "It took John." The first one it took was a guy named John. You guys know the importance of that. I'm not going to get into it today, okay? But the beast took John, and next thing you know, he comes in there all bloody and stuff. And some of them don't believe him, some of them believe him, some are scared, some of them are skeptics. Okay. And then there's this one religious lady in there, and she's like, "Oh, it's the wrath of God. It's death. Death is out there. The angel of death." And then everybody looks at her like, "Wow, she's crazy." And she's like, "No, it's the death." And then later, what they happened is this one lady's like, "Well, I left my son, my 8-year-old at home, and he's only 8. Please, I have to go." She goes out there and she goes away, and somebody else goes out after her. And next thing you know, this beast takes the person. Okay. But before that, there's this group of men gathering in the background, like the Freemasons are doing in the back of the church. Okay. They'll gather back there and gossip. Okay, they're learning too much of this and that. They'll sit back there and gossip. And they went out back to the back loading dock, and next thing you know, they send this boy out. Okay. When they send this boy out, this literally, as soon as they open the door, these kraken arms, these octopus arms, these tentacles, okay, come in. And they call it literally the tentacles from Planet X. Everybody's talking about Nibiru right now. I've been trying to tell you about the Death Star, the Black Star, okay? Everybody's talking about Nibiru and all this Anunnaki stuff. Anunnaki is Anakin Skywalker, okay, and his children. Anunnakians, okay? This is what happens when you take Anakin, the chosen one, and he switches to the dark side and he produces Anakinakians, okay? This is where that whole thing comes in, the battle of dark and light with Anunnakis and stuff. Well, that's the tale of the original fallen ones and the time of darkness and light. Okay. Well, Nibiru, Planet X, etc. All that's happening right now, and everybody's theorized that the eclipse was Nibiru coming in, okay, and blocking out the sun and releasing things into the Atlantic Ocean the next day, okay, like creatures, okay, or opening them. Okay, I've told you guys, even in the Nordic tales, they have the tale of Jormungandr, which is that Leviathan snake, and even down there where they were released is where the snake's mouth is. And in the tale, it says the tail was released from the mouth, and Jormungandr releases her 4 children at a time, and it closes it, calling catastrophes, big waves, swells, disasters like hurricanes, windstorms, freezing storms, etc., like you're seeing right now, earth, water, wind, fire. Okay. So in this movie, they're all gathered in that store, and this tentacle creature came and like started snatching the dude out. All right. Well, after that happens, all the people gather together, and it just gets worse and worse. These creatures, remember the Bible says the locusts will come out of the smoke, okay, and torment the people for 5 months. And they have tails like scorpions. Well, indeed, there's these locusts. They even say it, and then the woman reads the scripture out loud in the movie, where these locusts come up and they're coming up against the window and all outside and everything else. Everybody's freaking out. Okay, you need to know during the plagues, everything that happened there was probably way different than what you're picturing it. Okay, here's why. They took books out of the Bible. There's this book Jasher, and when it speaks also about those plagues when they were happening, you ever wondered how people didn't? What about the people that were hiding in bunkers and underneath the pyramids and stuff? Well, it says that he sent the Saluneth upon the land with 10 cubit man length arms. Okay, is how it described it. Multiple arms that could reach up and snatch and peel the roofs off of houses and knock in the doors and everything, so that the plagues of the wrath of God would go into there to man. They sent this kraken creature up there. Well, you ever wonder why they took that out? Well, yeah, there's a lot more than that. Okay. A lot of other stuff talk about this. The Luneth is actually kraken. You've seen it. You can see it in a bunch of my other lives. All right. Well, okay. In this one, you see exactly everything that's talked about coming up. All right. Well, let's move on forward, because after that, it gets worse and worse and worse. Okay. This one woman, She wants to do a child sacrifice, so she goes after the guy's son. But it turns out in the background there was these three army guys, and these three army guys, what they're doing is two of them go and they kill themselves. They know something about the government is doing right now, okay, and they didn't know how to tell anybody because it would literally drive them mad, drive them insane, okay. He wouldn't spill the beans. They didn't want to, so they took it out on themselves. Well, the other soldier had some explaining to do. Well, they cornered him. And it turns out he confesses up what happens. There's this project called Project Arrowhead. Project Arrowhead, what happens is the government, okay, apparently had this thing contained in the heart of the earth, okay, in this underground bunker facility. And in this facility, it was contained, but with its containment of whatever the door was, there was also a mist, a fog contained. Okay. And this fog or mist allowed the people to see into that dimension as long as that fog and mist was there. Okay. So here's where this comes from. I need you to know, yes, Project Bluebeam is very, very real. It is. Okay? And FEMA, and I mean, not FEMA, not HARP, that's very, very real. But they've made things so blatantly obvious for truthers and conspiracy theorists now, so that even when things really hit the fan, we'll have excuses for all those people dying around us when actual stuff is really taking place. Okay? We also need to know this, all right? This wrath is poured out on all men, that we aren't given new life until we all experience first death. We are all appointed to die once. It's second death that has no sting. That's why death and Hades all have to give up their dead at the end, and then some are given second death and some are given eternity. Okay? So we go through this mess. It is what it is. And then it says immediately after the tribulation in those days, the sky will darken, etc., etc. Okay? And we're still there. Now, here's this mist. The thing about this mist is this, all right? I've combined this with a lot of other stuff because, like I said, this mist allows people to see into another dimension when it's present. But it's also this whole thing. If you look in SpongeBob, it has SpongeBob, for example, it has the Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman is always traveling in a green mist. Okay, it's always present. It's the first thing that comes up, and then he's present. Davy Jones, in every series of Davy Jones, the first thing that's present is always this mist comes up, covers the land, and then he rises from Davy Jones' locker. Okay, in Pirates of the Caribbean, you have Davy Jones' locker. And when Davy Jones present, his boat was present, it wasn't just a mist, but it was charged particles, a mist that was present when Davy Jones would rise from the sea and everything. There was always that mist present. Well, this is seen all over the place. All right. Even in the movie Godzilla. Okay. Godzilla, if you look in the background of every Godzilla series, when Godzilla is tracked in the oceans, and if you look at the radars, they have him pictured as a hurricane. Okay. A huge storm that's washed up on the land. No joke. Like it's coming up on land. That's how they have him tracked. All right. Well, I was looking and thinking about some Godzilla movies previously, and you need to know that in Godzilla X and which Godzilla Kong is what it is, and Godzilla King of Monsters, here's what happened. Okay, whew. In that movie, it starts with Godzilla -1, which is the Pearl Harbor and then Hiroshima Nagasaki event, which caused him to go dormant to heal with radiation, new carpet bombings that went on for a long time and all that stuff, and they chased him around the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. He absorbed all that radiation for 45 years, where he lay dormant, and then he woke up after 45 years. First thing he does is he goes to the north, to the Arctic North. And when he goes to the Arctic North, okay, there's a solar event in which the whole sky is just red, glowing red, not just solar, not just northern lights, but red, like red dawn red, like what we saw. Okay. You remember a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, whenever it was, there was the event where everybody could see the red northern lights all the way down to Florida. And I've tried to tell you guys that Bill Gates had put out in the background that he was going to release barium and aluminum into the air to cover the air so that way it would reflect the sunlight. But also, barium aluminum is what causes amnesia and Alzheimer's. Okay, it comes from aluminum intake. That's why putting your deodorant and everything else absorbs in your body, causes you to have forgetfulness, as seen in Wizard of Oz and everything else. Okay, that dust. Okay, well, that's why it's called Bel, the prince and power of the air. Okay, he's got everybody under the spell of Bel. Well, that's been happening. But see, the thing is about this is that also puts a metallic particle mixed in the air with water, and all it takes is electricity, in which we know that ether is real and already present, to charge those particles. When that happens, it becomes a radiation. Okay, that radiation is what Godzilla feeds off of. When Godzilla wakes up because he knows other beasts are coming, first thing he does is goes to the North Pole to charge up. He goes to the Arctic Circle and he absorbs the red nuclear radiation. Okay, so he gets discharged. That's why you see the pink Godzilla now. Okay, then from there he goes back into the ocean. He goes to the Antarctica. When he goes to Antarctica, next thing you know, Ghidorah is starting to wake up from under the ice, and along with these other creatures and beasts that come with her, like crustaceous crabs, locusts, huge ones. Like I've been telling you, all that happens down to the T. Okay, just as this movie, just as everything else. All right. Even in Power Rangers, did you not notice what kind of creatures they were fighting? They were huge, like locusts. They were huge roaches. They were huge bugs, insects. Okay. All preparing you. All right. So, in that, okay, there's that mist present and things like that, but there's also this. All right. I want to show you this. Here's Davy Jones. Here's his tentacle head. Okay. Jones is another word for Jonas and John. Okay. I've been trying to tell you guys. Some of you know the significance of that, but others don't. But here's his other names. You need to know it's Apollyon, the king of the bottomless pit. Apollyon, the king of the deep. I've been trying to tell you guys that the deep and the depth is so important. Okay, that's what was banished outside of the seas. Here we go. It's called ruler of the ocean, the depths, lord of the deep, devil of the deep, lord of the locker, king of the bottomless pit, lord of the sea, Davy Jones, David John, Jonah, and the big beast. Okay, just as it is in the Bible. And here's what he calls up. He calls the Kraken. And when he's on his ship, you need to know that there's always that mist and fog present. Okay. Here's the Kraken, in which Davy Jones calls up from the deep. I think I talked about this already last night. So if this interests you, go back and watch that. I'm not going to touch this. I just want to refresh a little bit with you guys from last night. We talked about this, the Kraken in depth. And here's Arrowhead Project. I will go through this one more time because it's just a short little thing right here. Okay. Read this with me. All right. The Arrowhead Project is a military experiment performed in Shaymore, apparently intended to create a trans-dimensional window with which to peer through into other dimensions. The project's insignia, which can be seen on the uniforms of white suited personnel on the film's ending, is a stylized black knight on a horse climbing a lightning bolt. Okay, let's picture that. It's the black horse, the bringer of death, the Apollyon the destroyer, the horse on the black, the final darkness over the earth. Okay, and what is he doing? He's climbing out and he's climbing on a lightning bolt. Okay, so you have that dark charge coming into the world again, even as their symbol on this. All right, here's what happened on July 17th of 1980, which is actually when what came out? The movie, the book, The Fog. Think about that. On July 17th, 1980, the novel, and presumably 2007 in the film, The Experiment went awry, possibly due to intense damage of the storm, and is believed to have released the mist and its monsters into the world from another dimension. Through it, though it was never made certain in either the novel or the finished film whether or not the Arrowhead Project truly was what released the mist and the creatures in it into our universe. The original script for the film included a prologue scene. In it, the scientists and military at the Arrowhead Project base successfully opened the portal to another dimension inside a tank. However, lightning from the storm struck the base, causing the portal to expand and the mist see charging the particles. and the mist and the creatures began to pour through. Despite the Arrowhead Project personnel's attempts to close the portal, the creatures broke out of the tank which the portal was contained in, allowing the mist to flood into the base and spread beyond. You need to know, okay? Everybody's talking about CERN. CERN's opening portals, the eclipse open portals, the Pope's opening portals. There's portals everywhere being opened, etc. In the Bible, there's portals being opened and the creatures coming out all the time being portals. We need to know this. I found this interesting verse. Let me look in the Bible real quick and remember where it was. Hold on. All right, check this out, guys. One sec. Therefore, man, I gotta find it. This was really crazy. Ah. Oh, check this out. Okay, Zephaniah, chapter 1, verse 15. It says this. I want to pull this up with you guys. The day will be of wrath, a day of distress and anguish, a day of trouble and ruin, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds, fog, and darkness and blackness is where that's found. But then let's look at this. That's not even what I was going to look at, but that's crazy. I didn't even see that. Here's Joel, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness, like dawn spreading across the mountains. A large and mighty army comes, such as never was in ancient times nor ever will be. This is nuts. I wasn't even looking for the scripture. Thank you, Father, for putting it in front of me. But you need to know this is crazy. I'm gonna put it over here so you guys can see it. Okay, that's nuts. Here's Joel chapter 2, verse 2. Okay. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness, like dawn spreading across the mountains, large and mighty army comes. Here's that army of locusts that it actually talks about in depth in Revelation and in Daniel. Okay. May those who curse that day, those who are ready to rouse Leviathan. I've been telling you, the day of judgment is the day that the Queen of the South rises up. It's the day that Leviathan rises for judgment. For those that don't believe the Bible says it, here's it in multiple ways. This is crazy. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Mm-hmm. He parted the heavens and came down, dark clouds under his feet. There was something else, though, about the fog that I want to show you guys I had found. But I don't want to get off track. But you get it. Even then, it talks about the clouds covering the earth, okay? So let's move forward. So I don't want to get off track. Let's go back here, okay? So here's this Arrowhead project. The main thing is that the mist has to come up because these beasts come up. Why? We need to know. They've been preparing the air for the rise of the beasts, okay? How else can I explain it? The Bible speaks about birth pains. Birth pains in the Bible, okay, are earthquakes, okay? Because the earth is giving birth to the things of the deep, okay? And when it does, the springs of the deep will burst forth, and the things of the deep will bring forth also wrath. This is why during the flood you have multiple things take place. You have the war of the Nephilim and the Raphaim that's taking place on the land. Okay, you have the flooding going on. You had a cutting down of trees going on in the background too. That's talked about in Enoch. Okay, all that stuff taking place. All right. Well, here it is again, just as it was in the beginning, when darkness and chaos and wrath was over the face of the deep, and you have the Spirit of God separating all the darkness from light. Okay? Now, there's that. Military's involved in this mist project that's allowing creatures and beasts to come out of the abyss. Apparently, when you're a creature in the sea, the deep, you need moisture in the air to survive. Okay? Hence why this moisture is made present in the air so things that need moisture can survive. Okay, this is why it says they'll flee to the mountains. When you go to a mountain top, okay, the valleys is where the fog and the mist reside, and also snakes and reptiles and things of that sort will not go to where it is cold. Okay, as far as like they move really slow. You ever seen a snake out on the road in the middle of wintertime? They move real slow. Okay, that's why we flee to the north. We flee to the mountains and things like that. Okay, important stuff to keep and consider. All right, now let's get into this. All right, I made a live stream a couple of days ago. We're pretty much where we were last night, guys. Okay, I made a live stream a couple of days ago where I told you guys a bunch of stuff about a bunch of ships going missing, a bunch of warships that are just everywhere, going nuts right now. Biggest warship problem we've had in a very long time, and everybody's paying attention to the wrong stuff. They're looking for the wrong things. Okay, well, check this out. Let's start with back where we left off, on top of the ones we added last night and top of the many we added the night before last. Let's add some stuff, okay? Because we stopped on the 27th. Here's the 27th forward. Somerset shadows Russian warships. HMS Somerset was pictured leaving Plymouth Sound on the 27th of December of 2004 to shadow Russian warships through the English Channel. Okay, what's going on in the English Channel? Well, we had an evacuation of Tartarus, no joke. Okay, don't get it confused with Tartaria, which means Tartarus, the prison of the fallen one, is where Tartarus comes from. And then you have Rhea, means city. So you have the city of the prison of the fallen one. Okay, now, you also need to know this, that while you have the city of the prison of the fallen one, you also have Tartarus, okay, which is owned by Russia. And they're evacuating all their warships from there, okay, and moving them elsewhere, getting them out of Tartarus, okay. Right now, there's this huge evacuation of warships. And this is also part of that brigade also leaving and moving and doing some weird stuff. Because what started this was there was a multiple in the middle of the night. There was two different warships that just got destroyed, blew up. They don't know why the explosion happened. Multiple people died and the ship sank, and everybody else was clueless because it only takes two people looking on the ship this way to miss what's going on the other side of the ship where other people died and stuff happened. Okay. So there's a lot of action in the sea. Russia is bringing out ships that haven't been out in a very long time. They're pulling them out. Okay. Lots of them. Okay. And you got to add this to all the many other videos we've been doing. So here's another one. A Russian warship has been tracked for 5 days off of the coast. This was 1 day ago, but it's since last night. So this has been 2 days ago. Now, this is what's going on. Navy personnel from Devon and Cornwall were dispatched to watch Russian vessels sailing near the British coast. Okay? You got to realize we got things in our Atlantic Ocean and our Pacific Ocean now. Nobody's really paying any attention to either one of them. So Navy personnel from Devon and Cornwall were dispatched to watch Russian vessels sailing near the British coast. The Royal Navy has said Davenport-based HMS Somerset's crew was recalled on Christmas Day, when the Pope was opening doors, before it sailed 2 days later. And her two support ships, with her two warships that support her, Sparta and Skobelev. Okay, so here's this whole story. If that interests you, read that in more in depth if you want to. You get it. There's warships all going nuts. Okay, just 2 days ago still. Then we got this. One sec, guys. It is loading. All right, now this was January 1st. Okay, 1 day ago, yesterday. Taiwan is tracking 7 Chinese naval ships out there in that sea still, that are out there patrolling and patrolling and patrolling alongside of guess who, guys? United States, who we're supposedly rising up with war with, and yet we're right there side by side working with against something. We have a team over in the Pacific Ocean right now. We have a team going nuts in the Arctic Circle right now, and we have a team going nuts in the Atlantic Ocean right now, which is exactly where I was telling you guys you need to keep your eyes on. Taiwan tracked Chinese military aircraft 402 times and ships 283 times. 283 times in one freaking month, guys. Taiwan was seeing warships. How does that even happen? Wow, this is getting pretty nuts. This is on top of everything. This stuff here, if this is blowing your mind at all, you should have seen the other video we made 2 nights ago. It's crazy what's happening in our oceans right now. There was a whole warship snapped in half that we went in depth over. Okay, so you're seeing this. Now, let's look at this. All right. I started looking at the big hot spot, like where most of the ships have been spotted. Okay, would you believe that it's not just the east side of Taiwan, but it's really the southern side of Taiwan into the Philippine Sea. And the Philippines have been seeing all kinds of warships that have been going very close and around their channels all the time. Warships, American warships. They've even seen a Russian warship out there, a submarine. They were like, why is there a submarine out here? All of this stuff going on out there in the middle of that sea. But guess where the main hotspot is? Okay, it's this place called Scarborough Shoal. Okay, you need to know in the Bible it says that Peter was handed the keys. Keys to what? Well, where he built that church. Christ is the rock, the foundation of our church, the cornerstone in which the Pharisees rejected. Peter was made the rock of the church of what? Well, the gates of hell, in which he planted that church, in which he was given the keys to the gates of hell, the bottomless pit. Okay, and he was saying, look, the gates of hell will not hold you back. They will not prevail. That's what it means, hold back, to come up against. They will not hold you back, Peter. Okay? Well, you need to know this also. While all these doors and stuff are being opened with keys and fancy stuff, okay? There's this place I found right here in the middle of all this, and it's called Scarborough Shoal. Don't get Shoal confused with Sheol. We're going to talk about that. We know how I am with names and I put stuff in plain sight. Like La Palma means the palm, like the center of the hand. And it's St. Michael's hand, St. Michael's palm of his hand. And then when you look, it's called caldra, which comes from cauldron. So a St. Michael's hand cup, and it's called a flattening cup of flattening. Okay, and that's where that comes of flattening the East Coast with the Great Tsunami when St. Michael and the restrainer are set loose and he stops holding back. Okay, which we talked about in depth also with the tsunami decode. Very important stuff to watch there. Well, that one was in plain sight that St. Michael's palm in his hand was there. But what about Peter? Well, check this out, guys. You know, Peter means Kepha, which means rock. Okay, or you can say Kaifa or Kepha, which however you want to pronounce it, which means the rock. All right. Well, watch this. Do you know what Scarborough means? Well, I'll show you. And this is what it looks like, by the way. It looks literally like a portal to hell. But anyway, this is what it looks like. Okay. Well, watch this, guys. This is nuts. Would you believe what Scarborough means? Scarborough, literally, where are we at? Is this the right? I think I might have exited the wrong one too quick. Hold on one sec. Hold on one sec. I'm gonna find it. Come on, where are you at? I don't. Maybe it's not this page. Let's see if I can pull it up again. Haha. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Now we're getting somewhere. Scarborough comes from Old Norse, okay, which means a rock or fortress, like a fort, like a temple, okay, and a rock. But a rock is the main thing that I want you to understand there, that it comes from the term the rock. Well, if you think that's a coincidence, well, watch this, okay? Another name for Scarborough Shoal is this, okay? Maruna, okay, which comes from in Hebrew, Morana, which literally means what? This is nuts to me. Stop it. What in the world? All right, hold on one sec, guys. I got some. Please. All right, here we go. Which means what? They instead of calling it just the rock. Wait, something is blocking me out here. It also means flock of sheep. Okay, you're seeing. They don't want y'all seeing that. That is crazy to me. Let's look real quick. It means flock. Flock of sheep is another word for that they've changed it into. But if you think that's a coincidence, let's look at the word shoal. Okay, that word shoal. Well, what does it mean? It means a large number of fish swimming together. Well, so you have literally, it means the rock or fortress. Or they changed it again to maruna, which means a flock of sheep. Or you have the shoal. So you have flock of sheep shoal, which means a gathering of fish. What you need to know, Peter was called a fisher of men. This is why he has the fish hat and the fish hook. Okay, so he has the school of fish and the shoal of the rock, St. Peter, the fortress. You think that's a coincidence? We need to know where Sheol comes from because it actually comes from Sheol, which is the gathering of the dead, like the gathering of the flock, the gathering of the sheep, like Abraham's bosom, like Abraham gathered the sheep in his bosom, okay, in hollow earth until the time was came to release them. Okay, well, same thing. Pretty strange. Thought that was awesome. But anyway, I did some more research. All right, where this is, this place is the most active place around the Philippines, where all these warships are missing, patrolling constantly around the rocks, gathering a fish or flock of sheep. Okay, around this same area is also the hotspot for earthquakes, which you can see if you've got the earthquake app I've told you guys to download months ago that I've put out on my Facebook page. Okay, if you download the earthquake app, you'll see it's the very big hotspot, this trench. Okay, a trench being a crack and opening a portal in the bottom of the ocean is what I believe it is. Okay, this is the hotspot where those earthquakes, and recently a 6.1. Okay, just in the past couple months, they've had several big ones, 4.0 up to 5.6, and things like that even recently as well. But they have that going on there a whole lot, while they also have this patrol going on there and everything else. This is the Manila Trench, which is located right outside of there that goes along that brim, okay, which is the hot spot for all these anomalies. But it also has gravity anomalies taking place there. Okay, if you've ever seen any of those, they're pretty incredible. It's like when you drop something and instead it goes up, like something's forcing stuff up from there and changing everything. It's kind of like an inverted place. Well, that's what this place is as well. Okay, well, let's look on even further. I started looking into the Philippines, okay, and like see if they have, because Taiwan's the obvious one. They even put something on Google Maps a while back showing this Godzilla creature, whether it's fake or not, in the Taiwan area right there in the sea before Google Maps took it off. Okay, we know that the Taiwan and Japan, Hiroshima, they have tales of Godzilla and the dragon and everything else, okay, just as everywhere else. But the Philippines have the exact description of everything I've been talking about the serpent and the eclipse and releasing the titans and stuff like that. Well, that's what they believe. They're big on eclipses and a dragon mixed in with it that swallows the moon. The Philippine mythology, the most prominent dragon-like creature is the Bukunawa, a serpent often depicted as moon-eating dragon responsible for eclipses and other celestial phenomenon. Okay, let's look onto this a little bit. The Bukunawa, also called the Philippine moon-eating dragon, the Philippine moon dragon, or the moon-eating dragon is a serpent that looks like a dragon in Philippine mythology. It is believed to be the causes of eclipses, earthquakes, rains, and wind. I've been telling you guys, this last eclipse was like it pictures in Hercules. It was a mixture of beasts mixed with earth, water, wind, fire. You have the four titans of cataclysms, which is earthquakes, volcanoes, freezing winter ice and snow, and wind, hurricanes, tornadoes, etc. Okay? All of that mixed together. Well, this is what they also believe. They believe associated with these eclipses is the increase in all these phenomenon, and this dragon, both released in the heavens and also on the earth, known as Python, but it's also called the crooked, curved, bent snake. I was like, man, that's very strange because that's exactly how Leviathan is described in Job. If you don't believe me, well, here it goes. His spirit hath garnished the heavens, and his hand hath formed the crooked serpent. That's exactly how it's described. The crooked the serpent, the fleeing serpent, okay, the gliding serpent. Here it goes again. 2 times in a row, he hath formed the crooked serpent. His hand hath formed the crooked serpent. 2 times back to back is exactly how he describes Leviathan as the crooked serpent, which is exactly what he's talking about over there in the Philippine area. This whole thing is about the crooked serpent. Here we go down here. His spirit hath garnished the heaven. The crooked serpent. Okay. So many different translations, you see the same thing. The crooked serpent is how he's described in multiple. So I thought that was strange that they even called him that. Even in like Hindu culture, okay, Hindu culture, they have the Nagas and the Nagasakis, and the Nagas mix or a whole mix of cobras and people, and they're all to ultimately come from. You need to know Rahu. Rahu is the chief. Rahu is the one who comes and blocks out the sun. Same thing, blocks out the sun and the moon. Okay, causes the eclipse. He's the shadow planet, the black sun, the black star, the shadow planet that causes the eclipse, as I've been telling you. Rahu, aka Ra, aka who do you call him? Darth Vader, or you can go on and on. Who ultimately is Anakin Skywalker, the Anunnaki. Okay, so they even have the same thing going on: an eclipse happening, releasing of beasts and things like that, and the Death Star, etc. Oh, and there's this, the oarfish. They call it the doomsday fish. Has resurfaced not once but twice recently in the California coastline, which is a big deal because in multiple cultures they have this great oarfish as a prophecy of the end times, the end of the world, the great apocalypse. This is what this fish is associated with when it comes and does this because it doesn't belong on the shore. I'm telling you guys, a lot of things have been leaving the bottom of the ocean and coming up. Okay, and dying and being snapped in half. Whales snapped in half, sharks snapped in half, things snapped in half, creatures just been munched on. Okay. And then you have the doomsday fish washing up everywhere too. These that should not even be on the shore. And where are they finding them? They're not only finding them on the California coastline, but indeed the Philippines. Down in that trench, something is running them up. And if you blame it on earthquakes, well, earthquakes have been going on a long time. Okay. Let's see what else I had up here to share with you guys because I'm not going to go too much longer. Oh yeah, I did a live a while back about and all the spottings on the East Coast. Okay, if this is something that it intrigues you, I encourage you to go seek out all my Leviathan videos I've done because this video is just tons more on top of everything else we've talked about. Okay, but here I encourage you guys to go on a rabbit hole today. Start looking up the Gloucester sea serpent. Okay, it's going to send you on a spiraling event, okay, of all the sightings that have been covered up on the East Coast and are now coming back on the table. Okay, this one's incredible. All right, look into this when you get some time. All right, now if you need that again, rewind it, pause it, look at it, look for it. Okay, sea serpents and sea creatures and beasts and dragons, they've been pictured on our maps for a long time, especially at 1500 of the New World. Just as every Native American culture talks about at one point, they were walking with beasts and dragons even previously recently, okay? There was dragons on the land, there was beasts on the land, there were titans on the land. All that stuff has been covered up and hidden from you since really the 1900s, if you want to be specific. Because up until the 1890s, there have been so many sightings that have been publicly put out in many articles and books and news clippings that were just completely went under the table during World War I, World War II, and soon World War III, the Great Distractions. Okay, but here be dragons is when these people try to describe what they see, what they've seen in general. Krakens are on almost every single thing you see, along with this great sea serpent is seen on many, many pictures. Okay, all over the place. And this was 1604. They do it for a reason. They tell you what's been in the seas and what is in the seas. Okay, here it is on a map right here. Okay, that great mighty sea serpent. You think they do that for no reason? This is 1539. Okay, these things are for a very, very specific reason. This stuff is real. Okay, very, very real. All right. So add this video together with the other videos I've done on this same topic about the mist and stuff. Okay, and you should come to some conclusions on your own. Okay, after you go through these videos, go and watch the importance of the Pope, and go watch the importance of the tsunami events coming up, and the San Andreas fault line event coming up, and the naval flood map event coming up, and the FEMA camps coming up, and Noahide coming up, and Donald Trump coming in, and John and James Donalds being the greatest in the kingdom, calling down fire on the Gentiles, and that event coming up. All that stuff is very important stuff to unpack. All right. All right. It's cool to see 166 of you guys up here. I'm hoping that you enjoyed this, got something out of it. If you did, if you could just give me a little like button down there, that would be fantastic, just to get a little jump in the algorithm and pull some more people in here. If you think this information is important enough to share with someone you love, then go for it. Okay, we're told to warn those around us in Ezekiel chapter 20. It says that if we don't warn those around us that we love, it says that their blood is on our hands. To whom much is given, much is required. That's what the Bible says. That means don't let the world teach your children and people things before you teach your children things. Okay? You need to know the truth. Okay? The word says the truth will set you free. All right. Um, I've enjoyed this little time spent with you guys. I'm really hoping that I have enough time to set up one more live stream for this afternoon because we have some other cool stuff to talk about on top of this, I guess, scary stuff. Man, the sky is looking nuts right now. Wow. I wonder if there's a way I can show you what I'm looking at right now. Let me see something real quick, guys. Since we're at the end of the video, I can kind of do this. I want to show you something. Let's see here. There's my camper. I want you to look at this chemtrailed sky right here. Now, I need you to. Did you ever see Bob Ross paint a sky like that? Nah. Nah. Me neither. Me neither. Okay? Pretty nuts. We seem to be at war. But anyway, I'm going to get off of here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, smash that one of those buttons down there. If you want to help out in any way, shape, or form, I did share my Cash App and my PayPal down here for those that want to support the channel until I really get going with more followers and stuff like that, hopefully. If you want to take part in that, that information is right here scrolling across the bottom of your screen. If you can get a recommendation from, like, let's say it's your first time, if you're one of these 152 people up here, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, and you're like, what video should I really, truly watch next? Okay, I'll put the thumbnail picture up there behind me so that you can see it. I encourage you to go watch next. Ooh, ooh, oh man, this is tough. I think that you should really, man, this is really hard. I don't even know now. I think if I was to recommend you to watch anything, go and watch, I guess, my final reset ones, which would be this one. Okay, you'll see this thumbnail back there. Important stuff mixed with that. On top of, there's also, man, I think you need to watch the tsunami video. That thumbnail will look like this if I can find it real quick. I can't. I'm not going to bother doing with all this extra stuff right now. This one's important. Okay. This one's very, very important. Lots of important stuff. This one's probably the coolest video I've done. The vampires found in the Bible. It was a lot of fun. This one's very timely about the eclipse stuff. I mean, I can't. If you're a Trinity believer or not, you have questions about the Trinity, look for that thumbnail. Okay, so there's that. All right, well, I'm going to jump off of here. Love you guys so much, and I will see you maybe possibly this afternoon. Have a good day and or night wherever you are from Beyond the Veil.